So, um, have you ever just been staring at one of those game over screens on a digital account?
Oh, I mean, we all have, right? Like a temporary suspension or something.
Right, right. But I don't mean a temporary suspension. Or, one of those frustrating password reset loops where you just have to click the email link.
Oh, you mean the permanent bans?
Exactly. A permanent, completely opaque termination of your entire existence on a platform. It's sudden. It's absolute.
And it usually comes with one of those copy-pasted notifications, right? The ones that explain absolutely nothing.
Yes. Now, take that exact feeling and apply it not to some social media profile where you just post vacation photos or whatever. Apply it to your entire commercial livelihood.
That is a terrifying thought.
It really is. Imagine 40 years of writing, like your entire creative output just being wiped from the global digital map.
And all in the time, it takes an automated script to run some background process.
Exactly. So, okay, let's unpack this because today in this deep dive, we have a really fascinating case study. It gets right to the heart of this huge collision between, human messiness and algorithmic efficiency.
Which is pretty much the defining issue of the modern creator economy.
Totally. So we're looking at a document from earlier this year, 2026. It's called The Manifesto of Inconvenient Author's Truth.
Such a striking title.
Right. It's written by a Ukrainian author who goes by the brand BorisovNoir.
Mm-hmm.
And this document details his sudden, absolute ban from Draft2Digital.
For those who might not know, Draft2Digital is one of the massive aggregators. They pipe self-published books into the world's retail storefronts.
Yeah, they're huge. But our mission today isn't to just recap one author's frustrating Tuesday,
Right. This is about much more than just a customer service complaint.
Exactly. This manifesto is the entry point into a much larger structural question. What happens to the cultural record when the gatekeepers are just automated systems?
Systems that are optimizing entirely for scale and risk mitigation. Right?
Yeah. And you spend decades building a house, but because it sits on rented digital land, governed by invisible infrastructure.
The landlord can just bulldoze it in the middle of the night.
Exactly. And the most terrifying part isn't even the eviction itself.
It's the fact that the landlord is usually a machine that doesn't even know what a house is.
That is exactly it. So let's get into section 1 here, because the sequence of events BorisovNoir outlines is kind of wild.
It really is. It's the perfect diagnostic tool for understanding how these platforms actually operate behind the curtain.
Yeah, his account wasn't just blocked, it was annihilated. No specific book cited, 0 exact rule violations explained.
And no right to appeal. But what's fascinating here is the staggering timeline of how it all went down.
Right, because this wasn't a rejection at the door, was it?
Not at all. He didn't submit a manuscript and get a bounce-back email saying, try again. The platform actually accepted the books.
Wow.
Yeah, the system ingested the files, ran whatever initial metadata checks they do, and pushed those books out to global storefronts.
So they were live, like people could see them.
They were live. He even received the automated confirmations that his life's work was available across the retail network and library channels.
Oh, man. And then what?
Mere hours later, the entire account was nuked.
That is just, it's kind of a digital guillotine.
It really exposes exactly how their technical pipeline is structured. You have a 2-tiered system functioning at cross purposes.
Okay, break that down for me. What are the 2 tiers?
So the first tier is the ingestion layer. That one is designed purely for speed and volume. It checks if the EPB file is valid, if the cover art meets pixel dimensions.
It's just the basic technical stuff.
Right. It checks if the metadata fields are filled. It is essentially designed to say yes, because the platform's revenue relies on massive inventory.
That makes sense. They want as many books as possible.
Exactly. But then, operating asynchronously, maybe hours or even days later, you have the moderation layer.
Okay. The second tier.
Yes. This is where the heavier, more computationally expensive natural language processing, or NLP, scans the actual text corpus.
So it's actually reading the books at this point.
While scanning them statistically. And this secondary system is designed entirely around liability and risk mitigation.
So it's looking for trouble.
Right. And when that second system flags something, the reversal is violent and immediate. It highlights how completely disjointed the operation is at scale.
It's kind of like, imagine a gallery owner, right? They enthusiastically hang an artist's paintings on the wall.
Right, they set up the whole exhibit.
Yeah, they invite the public in, open the doors, and then immediately, without any warning, throw the art in the dumpster, lock the door, and refuse to explain why.
That is a perfect analogy. The platform's left hand is shaking your hand while the right hand is holding a blowtorch.
It's absurd. And the communication you receive after the blowtorch is applied is an entirely different kind of machinery.
Oh, absolutely. The manifesto includes the actual email BorisovNoir received from customer support.
Yeah, it's signed by a representative named Anthony. Let me read a bit of this because it's just pure corporate Teflon.
Go for it. It's really something.
Okay, it says, quote, "After a careful review, the decision has been made for your account to remain closed. This decision was not made lightly and was based on our internal policies, terms of service, and content guidelines."
So many buzzwords. It's completely sterile.
It really is. It's just a wall of legal mitigation.
But, we have to look at the mechanism behind that kind of language. From a user perspective, it feels enragingly opaque, obviously.
Right, because it tells you literally nothing about what you did wrong.
Exactly. But from the platform's perspective, that opacity is a structural necessity.
Wait, really? Why is it necessary?
Think about it. If an aggregator tells an author exactly which keyword or paragraph or structural anomaly triggered the ban,
Oh, I see. They're providing a roadmap.
precisely, they are providing a roadmap for bad actors, like spam bots, to reverse engineer and bypass the filter.
Right, so by keeping the ban vague, they protect the integrity of their automated moderation systems.
Exactly. But the side effect, of course, is that legitimate creators who trigger false positives are left completely in the dark. They're just fighting shadows.
That is so incredibly frustrating. And the absolute audacity of the sign-off in Anthony's email.
Oh, the sign-off is the best part.
After completely severing this author's global distribution, Anthony cheerily suggests the author just go publish directly with individual vendors.
Like it's no big deal.
Yeah, and then ends with a bolded, "Follow us on social media."
It perfectly captures the profound disconnect there. The life-altering reality of the user versus the automated ticketing system of the platform.
The system literally doesn't comprehend the damage it just executed.
No, because the system isn't designed to manage relationships. It's designed to manage data flow.
Right.
When Draft2Digital or any aggregator cuts you off, you aren't just losing one storefront. They act as the central nervous system connecting to dozens of global retailers.
So it's not just a bump in the road.
No, losing that account is like losing access to the interstate highway system. Sure, you can still drive, but you're confined to dirt roads.
Wow. But I want to play devil's advocate for the listener for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
If a platform has internal policies, don't they have the right to curate their space? Even if it feels abrupt. I mean, it's their platform.
That is a very fair point. And legally, yes, they absolutely have that right. They are a private company.
Right.
But the question here isn't just about legal rights. It's about what happens when you market yourself as an open platform for creators, but secretly operate with the rigid curation of a traditional publisher.
I see.
Especially when that curation is being done by a machine that doesn't understand context.
That makes total sense. Which actually brings us to the core of the issue. What exactly was so dangerous or offensive about his work that it warranted such an immediate scorched earth deletion?
To understand that, we have to look at who this author actually is and the label the system allegedly slapped on his work.
Yes, Section 2. The aggregator allegedly categorized his work as low content, generic, repetitive, and lacking depth.
Which is fascinating because in the digital publishing ecosystem, low content is a very specific operational term.
Right. Doesn't mean bad writing, does it?
No, not at all. For the past decade, platforms have been fighting a massive influx of what is strictly defined as low content or no content books.
What does that mean, practically?
We are talking about literal blank journals, day planners, coloring books, and more recently, an absolute tsunami of AI-generated spam.
Oh, like when people use language models to pump out hundreds of fake books.
Exactly. Massive language models are prompted to spit out thousands of functionally identical romance or thriller novels purely to farm page reads on subscription services.
Okay, so these moderation systems had to be built to detect and purge that specific type of parasitic inventory.
Right. But here is where the robotic mail sorter completely misreads the room. BorisovNoir is the literal antithesis of a blank journal.
Yeah, I mean, the manifesto points out he has 40 years of writing experience. He started as a journalist and reporter back in the Soviet era in 1984.
He is a veteran writer. By this year, 2026, he has produced over 90 books, texts, and literary cycles.
90. That is a massive body of work.
And it's incredibly complex work, too. He created his own entire universe, the BorisovNoir Universe.
And he operates in some really niche subgenres.
Yes.
Yeah.
He terms his genre MetaQuantum Noir. He explores a philosophical concept he calls quantum orthodoxy.
Wow.
We are talking about sprawling, dense, mystical thrillers, metaphysical noir, parapsychological sci-fi, essays,
So
manifestos.
basically the farthest thing from a blank notebook you could possibly imagine.
Exactly. And this is precisely why NLP moderation systems struggle with avant-garde or highly idiosyncratic writing.
How so? Like, how does the algorithm actually define something like generic?
An algorithm defines generic or lacking depth by comparing a text's statistical properties against a massive baseline of acceptable mainstream literature.
Ah, so it's grading on a curve.
Right. If an NLP script is looking for standard narrative arcs, predictable vocabulary distribution, or conventional pacing metrics derived from commercially successful fiction, how does it process metaquantum noir?
Here's where it gets really interesting. It probably looks at his text, sees highly repetitive philosophical motifs, because he's exploring these deep, recurring existential themes, right?
Right.
And the script scanner just flags it as keyword stuffing. It sees these sprawling, non-linear metaphysical structures and flags it as AI-generated word salad.
That is almost certainly what happened. The machine lacks the semantic understanding to differentiate between deliberate philosophical repetition and a spam bot trying to game the algorithm.
It's like imagine a supermarket barcode scanner, right?
Okay, yeah.
You try to scan a rare, aged philosophical manuscript at the checkout line, and the machine rejects it because it doesn't scan like a box of cereal.
That is exactly it. When you try to quantify highly qualitative, deeply personal human experience using binary code and statistical baselines, the edge cases always get punished.
And from what I read in the manifesto, BorisovNoir actually finds this deeply ironic.
Oh, he takes it as the ultimate ironic compliment. Think about it. He has spent 4 decades dragging his characters and his texts through, as he puts it, falls, comas, mysticism, faith, darkness, blood, ash, and noir.
Right?
And a server sitting in some data center scans all that accumulated human suffering, processes the vocabulary density, and spits out lacking depth.
It is peak digital era absurdity.
Yeah.
A man who has lived through the Soviet era being told by a tech support bot that his soul lacks depth.
It's a profound failure of measurement. It really brings to mind the history of the traditional publishing slush pile.
Oh, right, where interns used to read all the unagented submission.
Exactly. In the old days, a human intern would read the first 10 pages of a manuscript. They might reject it because it wasn't commercial enough, but they could at least recognize it as a human endeavor.
Yeah, they knew a person wrote it.
But the algorithmic slush pile doesn't even know it's reading a book. It's just scanning for statistical deviations.
And if your life's work deviates too far from the median, you aren't just rejected. You are classified as a malfunction.
Which perfectly transitions us into Section 3, the core philosophical argument of his manifesto.
Yeah, because if the work isn't actually low content, what is it about his writing that triggered the system?
He argues that the platform doesn't just want good formatting, it wants sterile text. BorisovNoir isn't just complaining about a technical glitch. He is diagnosing a cultural shift.
Right. He claims that modern publishing demands sterile texts, sterile authors, sterile biographies, sterile annotations, sterile thoughts, and ultimately, sterile souls.
It's a very powerful indictment. Everything must be smooth, odorless, free of blood, dirt, sin, and pain.
And he proudly declares his work is not sterile. He says it's not a literary salon with porcelain cups.
No, he describes his catalog as a sale of personal catacombs. He doesn't just have skeletons in the closet, he has a warehouse of them.
Yeah, he's incredibly candid. He admits to failures, falls, mistakes by the wagon load. He even talks about time and mental wards, using the Russian slang durka.
He's putting all his messiness right on the table. He talks about recovery through teeth, blood, and faith.
The way he contrasts the light in literature is so brilliant. He says the light in his books isn't a decorative store-bought bulb.
Right, it's the light that remains when almost everything else is burned down.
That is such a striking image. And he makes it very clear that he does not write for the market, for the trend, or for the algorithm.
So let's deeply analyze this dichotomy between sterile digital marketplaces and these living, unsterile texts.
Okay, yeah. Why does the platform care so much about sterility?
It comes down to the underlying economic mechanism. These massive aggregators and retail platforms are heavily subsidized by or integrated with advertising networks.
Oh, right, the advertisers.
Exactly. Advertiser safety is paramount. You cannot run a frictionless digital storefront if the content is constantly triggering user complaints, controversy, or psychological distress.
So the algorithms are tuned to prioritize safe content. Content that won't offend advertisers or trigger any red flags?
Yes. They want content that keeps the user engaged in a comfortable, predictable loop. Anything highly transgressive, truly gritty, or emotionally volatile introduces friction into that loop.
Which makes his text, as he says, too inconvenient for a dead machine.
Exactly. The visceral, messy reality of human experience, the sin, the internal hell, the internal light, cannot be processed by a binary system.
This raises a really important question for you, the listener. Think about the media you consume. How much of it feels like that decorative store-bought bulb?
Versus the light left over after a fire. It's a great question to ask ourselves.
Right. Are our digital platforms inadvertently sanitizing human culture by only promoting art that lacks edges?
It certainly seems that way when you look at how the algorithms function at scale.
But, I do have to push back here again.
Please do.
Isn't there a risk that unsterile, messy writing can sometimes just be chaotic or unmarketable?
Sure, absolutely.
Like, does an author really have a right to a spot on a commercial platform if they refuse to play by market rules? If I go to a store, I want a clean, finished product.
It is a vital distinction to make. No, an author does not have a constitutional right to force a private business to sell their work.
Right. Draft2Digital is not a public utility.
Even if they operate at the scale of one. But BorisovNoir's critique operates on a deeper level. He isn't arguing that they owe him a spot.
He's not.
No, he is exposing the inherent hypocrisy of the platform model. These aggregators market themselves as the ultimate democratizers of publishing.
Oh, right. The whole tear down the gatekeepers narrative.
Exactly. Their brand identity is all about empowering every voice. But the reality he exposes is that the gatekeepers haven't been removed at all.
They've just been automated.
Automated and rendered invisible, and the automated gatekeeper is exponentially more rigid than the human ones ever were.
That is so true. A human editor might take a chance on something weird. An algorithm never will.
Never, because it violates the statistical baseline of safety.
So this philosophical clash between the living author and the dead machine brings us to the ultimate standoff, which is Section 4.
The delete versus continue phase.
Exactly. When the platform pulls the plug, what does the creator actually do?
Well, Draft2Digital pressed delete.
Yeah.
BorisovNoir pressed continue.
I love that framing. And he states emphatically that this manifesto is not a complaint. It is not a cry for pity.
It is a statement. There is no groveling, no petition to get his account back.
He acknowledges the platform's power to remove him from their storefronts, right? But he asserts they cannot remove him from literature.
Because, as he puts it, literature is a voice. And a voice cannot be deleted by a tech support email.
It's just such a fundamental reclaiming of agency.
It really explores the power dynamics of the digital age. We've allowed these aggregators to become digital gods. They have a switch. He calls it a rubilnik in Russian, hanging over every author's head.
A kill switch.
Yes. But by reframing the ban not as a defeat, but as a shedding of unnecessary middlemen, he completely defames them.
He points out that he survived the era before aggregators, algorithms, AI, and digital storefronts. I mean, he's been writing since 1984.
He survived the Soviet era. He views this current technological configuration not as the ultimate reality of publishing, but just as a passing weather system.
He will survive after them. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is a microcosm of the broader creator economy.
Exactly. Platforms come and go, but the foundational human act of storytelling remains.
So what does this all mean practically? It's kind of like, think of a seasoned sailor, right?
Okay, a sailor.
A sailor who navigated by the stars long before GPS was invented. When the GPS on the boat suddenly breaks, the sailor doesn't panic. They just look back up at the sky.
That is a brilliant way to look at it. The stars are the text, the GPS is the platform.
Right. But, refusing to be silenced is great in theory. It's very romantic.
But philosophy doesn't distribute EPUB files.
Exactly. How does an author actually reach readers in 2026 without these massive digital aggregators?
That is the million-dollar question. And it brings us to Section 5, bypassing the digital gods.
The direct-to-reader model. Let's really break down the mechanics of this, because I want to debate the actual viability of what he's proposing.
Let's do it. It is a massive departure from the frictionless commerce we are used to.
So he outlines a new, decentralized survival strategy. Here's how it works. Step 1. Readers discover him through his YouTube channel, where he posts long-form deep dives.
Or on Instagram, where he posts quick, short reviews for the hasty readers.
Right. So he's using big platforms, but not to sell directly.
Correct. He uses algorithmic social media merely as digital billboards.
Yeah.
But the crucial shift happens at Step 2.
Step 2. The reader has to send him a direct message or an email to his personal Gmail address with a book title.
Notice there is no link to click that automatically downloads the book.
Zero automation. Step 3. He personally emails back the prologue or first chapter for free.
Manually.
Step 4. If the reader is hooked, they support him via a convenient, agreed-upon payment method.
And finally, step 5. He emails the full EPUB or PDF file directly to the reader.
He provides this whole network of links, HeyLink, Facebook, Telegram, YouTube, Instagram, just to funnel people in this direct email exchange.
His final rallying cry for this system is, platforms come and go, texts remain.
Okay, I am going to attack this model hard.
I figured you would. From an operational standpoint, it is a lot.
It is commercial suicide. From a user experience perspective, this introduces vastly more effort from both the author and the reader.
It requires the reader to completely leave the seamless one-click ecosystem of a major retailer.
Exactly. We live in an era where if a web page takes longer than 3 seconds to load, people abandon the cart. He is asking readers to engage in a multi-step asynchronous communication process just to acquire a digital file.
It requires the author to become a full-time customer service rep.
Right. He has to manually email files, manage payments, probably act as IT support when someone's PDF won't open. It scales terribly.
Your critique is entirely valid if the goal is maximum market penetration and effortless scale.
Which is usually the goal of publishing.
Usually, yes. But we have to analyze the utility of that friction for an author in his specific position.
Okay, what is the utility?
It creates an incredible intimacy. It replaces a sterile, transactional relationship with an artisanal, almost handshake-like interaction between creator and consumer.
So you think the friction is actually a feature, not a bug?
Precisely. It eliminates the casual tourist reader, sure, but what it creates is an intense filter for genuine investment.
It's the digital equivalent of requiring someone to walk down a dim alley and knock on a speakeasy door.
Exactly. Instead of just walking into a brightly lit franchise on the main street, the people who bother to send the email, read the sample, and figure out the payment method are no longer just consumers.
They're patrons.
Yes. They are deeply embedded in the BorisovNoir universe.
I mean, I guess it is the 1,000 true fans theory, stripped down to its absolute bare metal. No intermediary software, just an author, a reader, and an email server.
And crucially, it is an infrastructure that cannot be unilaterally deleted by a mid-level moderation script.
That is true. Draft2Digital can ban him, but they can't delete his email contacts.
They cannot delete his Telegram channel or the direct one-on-one relationships he has forged. By decentralizing his presence, he immunizes his literature from the game over screen.
That is the ultimate trade-off. You sacrifice the immense reach and frictionless ease of the aggregator machine, and in return, you gain absolute sovereignty over your own survival.
It forces us to recognize that these retail platforms are not literature. They are logistics companies. They are temporary delivery mechanisms.
I want to ask you, the listener, right now, would you go through this multi-step process to get a book?
It's a lot to ask of a modern consumer.
It really is. What does an author have to prove to you in that free prologue to earn your direct support and get you to jump through those hoops?
It sets the bar for the quality of the text incredibly high.
So, as we step back from BorisovNoir's specific battle, we really have to look at the landscape he is warning us about in this deep dive.
We've gone from an unceremonious, unexplained digital ban by a corporate aggregator to the revelation of a 40-year veteran author's gritty philosophy.
This whole idea of unsterile art versus safe, curated product.
Ending with his radical pivot to a grassroots, direct-to-reader distribution model.
We need to remind ourselves why this matters to us, the readers. Because every time you click buy on a major digital storefront, you are interacting with a highly curated system.
You are consuming an algorithmically sanitized version of culture.
Exactly. BorisovNoir's story is a stark reminder of the raw, messy art that might be getting filtered out before it ever even reaches your screen.
The art that didn't pass the robotic mail sorter.
Right, which leaves us with a really lingering, provocative thought to build on what we've talked about today.
What happens to the cultural record in 50 years?
Yes, if our digital algorithms are increasingly designed to seek out safe, smooth, and sterile content just to protect corporate platforms and advertisers.
What is going to be left in the archives?
Exactly. Will the defining voices of our era, studied by historians, be the ones who actually mastered the human condition? or just the ones who mastered the algorithm?
While the truly groundbreaking, unsterile voices were exiled by the machine.
Forced to build their own universes in the dark, one email at a time. It's definitely something to think about the next time a platform confidently tells you what you should read next.